Yay. Okay. Yay. Hey, aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Bitcoin Peace and Music Podcast. I am DJ Valerie Love, your happy host. And I have somebody here who really inspired me. And I made a vulnerable reach out after he made a vulnerable share on stage in front of tens of thousands of people in Miami. This is Greg Foss. Aloha, Greg. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, how's it going today? Are you rocking and rolling with your Johnny Cash shirt?
I've had a bit of a busy day, but yeah, you know what? Good time to tell the truth. I just had a really great call with Ibex Mercado.
Nice.
Now, Ibex is you asked me to use what picture we could use in the I guess you call this an advertisement or
Uh-huh.
whatever.
Yeah.
I invested in Ibex. About a year and a half ago, actually met them down at the Bitcoin Miami 2021
Okay.
event. And then last year, or this year rather, 2022, they had like the biggest uh, booth on the stadium floor or the stage floor because they just made so much progress from year one when they were just a bunch of kids from Guatemala running around. In the period of a year, they had onboarded an entire country. So El Salvador uses Ibex Mercado as their merchant solution, and
Wow.
also the city of Miami. So I am going to use these guys because I'm involved in a bunch of bars in Montreal, Irish pubs to be exact.
Okay.
We're going to use them as our merchant solution in Montreal. And then just in passing, I was having a conversation with a Bitcoin mining friend of mine, quite a powerful Bitcoin mining friend who owns an incredibly large entertainment business in Las Vegas. And he's also interested in talking to Ibex Mercado now. So you see how things, little things grow into bigger things. And I'm really excited for these young men. They are changing the world, not just in Miami, not just in Las Vegas or potentially Las Vegas, but most importantly in El Salvador, where people have been taken advantage of from legacy traditional finance payment rails like Visa or credit cards, Western Union, those sorts of things. So yeah, a good day because whenever you can disintermediate some of the legacy financial rent seekers, as we call them, rent seekers,
Yeah.
that's a good day.
So, okay, can you tell the audience if they're not familiar, like what does Ibex Mercado do? Like what's
Yeah,
the
imagine you go to a restaurant. Well, let's run through some math quickly.
math?
Okay,
I
so
like math.
my restaurants in Montreal, we're pretty good. In our now, first of all, restaurants or pubs are a tough business. So for every dollar we sell, we only make 14 cents of what's called EBITDA or pre-tax cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So we sell a dollar worth of stuff, we make 14 cents that would go into our pockets. If
Okay.
someone takes out a credit card to pay, that 14 cents is cut to 11 and a half cents because the credit card takes what's called a merchant fee. They charge the merchant for allowing the clients of the restaurant to use a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move that to El Salvador or a third world nation, less developed nation like Central America. Their credit card fees in Central America are actually 8 cents. So if you're really good in El Salvador, you're making 14 cents and someone takes out a credit card to pay you, that profitability at the restaurant is cut in more than half
Wow.
because of the rent seeker. So you can imagine how a Bitcoin payment rail using Lightning would maintain the profit margins. You could use it as marketing, attracting new Bitcoiners to your establishment. So Ibex Mercado was tasked with implementing the merchant solution. So for Kentucky Fried Chicken, Starbucks, McDonald's in El Salvador, Ibex Mercado, some very smart Lightning programmers, was employed by the government to be the merchant solution. And then Miami, the city of Miami, also hired them. So I wish I had sent you a picture from 2 years ago when I met these kids. And they are kids, like really smart kids, don't get me wrong, but they are kids who had reached out to me at Bitcoin Miami 2021. And I just immediately bonded with them. I love supporting young, energetic kids of any persuasion, meaning they don't have to be Bitcoiners. Although I do find in the Bitcoin community, it's fairly well populated with my type of people. When I say my type of people, I mean you know energetic or trying to change the world, and that's what I love about it. So sorry, I'm just getting a call here. I can't
No,
turn
it's
off my
okay.
phone. So basically, what I know is this. These are kids that let me just not answer this, but I'm just going to send a text.
Yeah, it's cool.
So basically, it's my real job calling, so I have to. So just on a podcast. Okay, so basically, I love children. Anybody who wants to change the world for the better, and that's what I think these guys are at Ibex Mercado. So here you go. Yeah, there's some of them. Top left is Jose. He's Jose Lemus, great kid from Guatemala. We have their team represented, Esteban and the team there. Mario, it's just go down a little bit. You'll see there's Alvaro. You can see a Rye Sterling, a North American kid, is perhaps on the next page. I don't see him there, but all these guys are just amazing. And it's really great to meet them because, they do want to change the world, to make the world a better place for the lesser developed nations, for things like remittances. Remittances are when you have a family member who's working, let's say in USA, and is sending money back to El Salvador using Western Union. Well, Western Union will typically take a fee from start to finish of close to 20% of that money transfer. So
That's
these are
crazy.
onerous. In the case of El Salvador, 20% of their GDP is from remittances. So if 20% of 20%, which equals 4%, if all remittances back to El Salvador went through the lightning payment rails, the GDP of El Salvador would increase by 4%, net, squeezing out Western Union. So yeah, let's not get too far into the math. I know you wanted to talk about bigger issues, so I just wanted to bring it up because it gets me excited to be a partner with these young men. I did and women. I did invest in that platform. A good friend of mine, Jeff Booth, has provided solid guidance to them. It's just a good story.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Somebody named Annalise just reached out to me today
Oh,
because I'm going to get to meet them this weekend at the Beef Initiative conference, which is going to be
cool.
really cool. So I'm just going to play a couple songs there. It'll
Yeah.
be really fun. So yeah, it's cool. So
So she's in touch. So I just met her today too, because she's going to be the one that's doing our pubs in Montreal.
oh my God, that's great.
Yeah. So small world. There you go. We were
I
both
mean,
talking
literally
to.
like an
Yeah.
hour and a half ago, I just got a message from her. I'm
Okay.
like, oh,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's what I think is so cool about this community. Obviously, it's like we're all coming together. We all get into it because of the financial number go up. Yay, great. But then we all start
Mhm.
realizing, like, wow, this shit can change the world. Like, this can make
It's
people's
bigger than
lives
that, right,
exponentially
Val? Yeah.
better in all
Yeah.
these different places, you know? And well, and obviously, one of the reasons I reached out to you is, to share your story about this journey that you've been on. Cause you had
Mhm.
said, if it's okay, that I
Sure.
share,
Oh yeah.
when you were at the Miami Bitcoin conference, you were on stage and you were like, I was really struggling. I was suicidal. I was depressed, all these things. And I was just like, oh man, I've been there too. And I think it's so important that we have authentic and transparent conversations about being vulnerable about our mental health, about our
Mhm.
spiritual and physical and financial health. Because if we don't have, obviously, this, if we don't have a solid mental health foundation, we
Mhm.
can't go out there and be the warriors in the world that we know we want to be and do the mission that we want. And so I'd love for the listeners to get more insight into your journey and how you came through it and why it's so important to have a support system and your mental health like fucking rock solid. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So thank you. I will start with the fact that I'm an engineer, so I do believe in science. I'm biased towards science. Now I'm not drawing a link that other physicians or psychiatrists wouldn't draw. But both my parents suffered from mental health challenges. My mom was diagnosed as manic depressive, and my dad was high anxiety and suffered from not being able to travel. For example, I can't remember the name of it, the agoraphobia or something like that, where
Mm-hmm.
you can't travel. You're just absolutely paranoid to travel. So,
Hmm.
I probably come from it a little bit genetically. But I went through my life. I was always pretty. I enjoyed, some. So yeah, I started as an engineer, and then I became a financial engineer, and otherwise a trader. Okay, I sat in a chair that was very high pressure. I managed billions of dollars of assets on behalf of people that I took very seriously. That's what you want, someone who sits in a risk chair to live and die with the positions that on behalf of their clients. But
Yeah.
that adds up. And so people ask me during my time what I loved about trading. And when I started in the business, which was over 30 years ago, I used to say to people, that feeling you get in your stomach before a big game? You have butterflies in your stomach. Well, I told people on an average week of 5-day work week, I would feel those butterflies at least 4 days out of the 5 days of the week. So,
Mm.
it was pretty, you're on the edge of your chair, you're intense,
Yeah. Up
you're
here.
going to a sporting event every single day, and your sporting event is kept tracked by your profit and loss at the end of the day. So it's actually a sporting event, all right? And you like that when you're a kid, and then the average age of a trader, let's say you start at 25. If you don't blow up in the first 3 years and get yourself fired, you can probably last another 5 years. So you go 8 years, and then you move on to a position of senior management or more senior management. But I just happened to move away from the trading seat at a brokerage to a hedge fund seat. So I transferred my progression didn't move vertically. I made a lateral move, and that lateral move meant that my sitting in the chair position extended for a lot longer than average, and that pressure therefore added up. And there were times when, I'd wake my wife up in the middle of the night. I'd go, "Who was I just on the phone with?" And she'd say, "No, no, Greg, the phone didn't ring." And I said, "Don't tell me the phone didn't ring. I just sold 20 million bonds of XYZ company to this account, and I can't remember who I sold them to." And she's like, "I promise the phone didn't ring." And, I would have to go, and I was almost hyperventilating. So you can see how this stuff adds up, right? And so, you have a pretty thick inner, fight or flight, natural survival instinct.
Mm-hmm.
You can level that out over time, but it adds up. And if you don't have a release valve, that's when it becomes very dangerous. Anyway, towards the end of my career, my son, I had 3 kids, of which my oldest son was playing very competitive hockey. Uh, NHL combine draft status, all the stuff, and you start living through that. So that adds another little bit of pressure to your day job. And then you have your son, and then both my parents passed away in very short order, and I'm the oldest guy in my family, and therefore all of the pressures of settling their estate and everything, you tend to take that responsibility. So all of
Yeah.
those things added up, Val, to a point where I reached my breaking point.
Yep.
And yeah, I went through. What could I control in my life? I couldn't control my son's hockey, and I couldn't control my parents' death, but I could control the my being able to take care of it, and that coincided with me having our hedge fund got bought, and 2 years to the day, I put my hand up and I said, "Guys, I'm a mental wreck. I can't do this anymore. I need to retire from managing risk." And they were very kind to me and said, "Yeah, you know what? Here you go. Here's your exit package. Thanks for coming, doing everything." And so I went and took care of my parents' estate and everything. But then when you lose your job, you lose your sense of identity. Okay.
Identity. Yep. Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
so I hit the wall even harder. Okay.
Yeah.
You think you're reducing your risk, and in fact, you lose your identity. And so, things like the price of gasoline started bugging me, even though I had put together, put aside a nest egg that I was able to retire. But you lose your identity and you lose your sense of purpose and what Bitcoin did for me. So, not to get too, and I was suicidal. I could not get out of bed. I wanted my life to end, even though I have three beautiful kids. I got a beautiful wife. I got like a pretty nice life. I mean, if people looked at me and said, this guy went over the edge, that does not make any sense. So if it can happen to, and I'm not saying I'm anything special, but I sort of had accumulated some things in my life that a lot of people would say, well, you made it. You're at that level. Anyway, you lose your sense of identity. You want to end your life. Man, oh man, what an awful situation. And I was hospitalized. Now I never stayed in an institution, but I went 8 hours a day to, it was like a job to try and retrain my mind uh, to understand cognitive biases, cognitive dissonance training. I had probably drank a little too much, so try and remove yourself from the drinking. Uh, and yeah, it was a very, very deep and dark time in my life. And then I found out that the drugs they had been prescribing to me actually were making it worse. And this is where I get really upset with some of the prescription drug companies who prescribe an SSRI, which stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. These are all the anxiety and depression drugs that they prescribe. They never bothered to ask me, oh, your mom was manic depressive. That's dangerous because it enhances the swings in your mood
Oh
in an
gosh.
SSRI. So yeah, it was ugliness and I was on the edge. And I finally self-diagnosed myself. I got to get off these SSRIs. They're making my life worse, not better. And over a period of about 18 months, which coincided exactly with COVID,
Hmm.
I was able to turn my life around. But still, the COVID pressures and all the things, I mentioned my 8 pubs in Montreal. I think I did anyway. I've been on a few podcasts. My 8 pubs in
I,
Montreal, look, they were closed. So a source of revenue that was
right.
providing me with a pretty good income shut. The governments pay for all the employees, but they don't pay for the owners. The employers go to zero. So all of a sudden that was turned off. Yeah, I will tell you that it was a very difficult time and I'm not proud of it. By no means am I proud of it, but I'm honest about it because it hit me 1-2. When I thought I was getting better, I actually was getting worse. And that's what happened when I hit the wall a second time because of the SSRIs. So long drawn out response, but I need people to understand that if you're struggling with this stuff, many times it could be the SSRI that you are on that is being misprescribed for you because SSRIs only work in about 50% of the population to begin with. They never tell you what happens to the other 50%. They only tell you about the good 50%, the ones that have, it could either be a placebo effect or there is some sort of enhancement to the mental health. So, my kids stuck with me. My wife stuck with me. I'm forever grateful to that. I have some letters that my kids wrote to me that
Hmm.
pulled me out of the depths of my despair. And it doesn't happen quickly, right? You have to bottom
Mhm.
first, and then you sort of kick around the bottom, and then you see a little glimpse of a glimmer of hope, and then you build on that. And so, yeah, it was a process that I'm comfortable talking about it because I know I have helped some people.
Yeah.
People have reached out to me. Uh, the response from me being on stage, which was it certainly wasn't planned, but I'm sort of a bit of a, you know, uh, what would you call it? Off the cuff type of guy where I just say what's on my mind and I just said it to the whole crowd at the Bitcoin Miami conference, and boy, I would say at least 20 people have reached out to me and say, thank you for your honesty. I've wrestled with these troubles in my life. Your honesty helps me to be accepting of it. My parents never talked to anybody about it because that in their culture it was taboo.
Oh yeah.
We're getting better now. Yeah.
We are. And I think, and congratulations, number one,
Mm-hmm.
that you made it. Fuck yeah. And, you know, and what a wonderful family you must have. And I'm so glad you're here, Greg. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you so much. Yeah, no, my kids are too. I think, I definitely know they are. And there's, I don't want to, I have a hashtag that I use on Twitter, which I've discovered, right? Like Twitter's good and bad. I hope people appreciate me for what I am. I try and be honest. But one of my hashtags is for the kids,
for the kids, man. Yeah.
and it's definitely for my kids, but it's also for other kids out there in the world that are being. We gotta stop being so selfish as old fat white guys. Like I like to think of. I don't like to think of myself, but I definitely describe myself as. So yeah, maybe I'm trying to give back a little, Valerie. I'm very blessed to have met people in this community. Yourself, we were on a podcast with Pubby. Those guys, I think it was Pubby, Anders, and Pubby Toxic Happy Hour. I think you and I conversed a little bit. But here's what I know is this community is full of givers.
Yeah.
Most communities are full of takers, right? 85% of the world are probably takers. And the crazy thing about the Bitcoin community is I'd say it's flipped. I'd say 85% of the Bitcoin community are givers.
Yeah.
So that helps. It makes me happier to be surrounding myself with people that have similar values. You enjoy trying to help people, but you also admit where you were wrong. And this is where I'll wrap it up. Look, I've made more. Well, no, I'm not going to say it that way. I got paid very well for what I did, and it wasn't an easy job. I know it beats you up, but I got paid like a professional sports athlete for many, many years, and I now feel that I took advantage of the system a little bit because the system is designed for people like me. I was closer to the money printer than your traditional, your regular on the street, Main Street guy. I was on Wall Street. I was closer to the money printer. Do I feel guilty about that? In hindsight, I do. That being said, I think I was good at the job I did and different from most people. And now I'm just trying to give back. Guys will call me out, I think, and this could be a subject you want to talk about. I don't need to if you don't want to. But, the fact that I'm going to this Bitcoin conference in the UK, that some people accuse these guys of being shitcoiners. Like, honestly, I don't care. I'm going to fight for Bitcoin on anybody's turf.
Yeah. And Greg, that's one thing I know when we were talking, I think it was Pubby's thing. It's like, I don't care where we go. We need to be in all corners of the world as Bitcoiners, and we need to be spreading the gospel of Bitcoin. And so whether we're at, a crypto conference, whether we're at a mental health conference, whether we're at a rave, or whether we're at a food conference, whatever, like the world needs to hear this. And you are uniquely qualified to speak, because of your background and because of how much you understand. And so, so I'm 100 million trillion % like, let's go speak everywhere and get this message out there. For me, as somebody who's like still pretty new to all this stuff, it's like a lot of the people who resonate with what I, am able to share are more on different channels like Instagram or Facebook or, the moms and the women and the artists and stuff. They're not necessarily on Twitter. So it's like, who cares? It's like wherever anybody needs to hear this so that they can learn how to become sovereign individuals through Bitcoin as one, tool, we need to go get on the soapboxes and share this message, and if one person gets it and it transforms their life and it trickles out, then fuck yeah. I think my only thing was just like,
please don't. Let's not talk about you and me. That being said, you were sticking up you were trying to protect me. And I appreciate that. There's other
Yeah,
people though that aren't trying to protect me. They're actually trying to say, what are you aligning with these people for? And I think there's a fine line between aligning and then being willing to go and meet them where they are. So Jeff Booth, a good friend of both of ours, he
I
has a
wish he was a good
phrase.
friend of mine, not yet.
No, okay, well, he
No,
has a
just kidding.
phrase, right? Meet people where they are,
Yeah,
not where you want them to be, right? So
right.
it means you have to go. Sometimes you go to a shitcoin conference. Now, going to stay it up front. These guys have promised Jeff and myself and Larry Lepard that they are not, they were shitcoiners, perhaps like some of us, and then they have learned the errors of their ways and they have committed to being solid citizens in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Okay, regardless, and I appreciate you looking out for me. I will go to those other conferences,
Yeah,
and I don't think I'm helping them sell tickets as much as hopefully showing people the errors of their ways. So yeah, and
right.
let's not talk about this too much anymore because very positive here with
Yeah,
you. A group of givers that are trying to. Yeah, there's not that many people that have lived my life. I could surmise that there's not that many people that have lived your life as well, and then we can perhaps use our experience to build on to help people avoid some of the mistakes in the road that we've individually made, right?
totally. Well, and I think too, like for so many people, we've all started out with like, "Ooh, number go up. This is exciting. What's 100x mean? What's 10x?" And we all start with shit coins. And it's like it's a natural human progression where we want to have more money and we're by nature wanting to survive. That's natural. So we've all been there to some degree or another. And I love when people, I mean, the goal is to convert hopefully everybody with education and tools and empowerment so that they
Yes.
can make their own choices. So I invite those guys. I told them, I'm like, come on my podcast and let's celebrate your transition, um, but they blocked me. So I was like, okay.
What? Okay, hold on now. So the
That's
guys
why
in.
I was kind of upset because I
Oh,
invited them and I was like, hey guys, like, what's
okay.
up? Like, I
So
want to
so some.
celebrate. So come
Uh,
on until
well,
let's
let's
have a
call out.
party.
Let's call out a little bit of cultural differences.
Yeah.
And that includes this is not a crack at the British or UK culture, but I think they cancel or block people more quickly. They're more abrasive than maybe some of well, certainly than Jeff Booth is. How about that? Okay,
Sure.
I'm not going to put myself in that. I'm abrasive. Yeah, Jeff Booth is non-abrasive.
Yeah.
I'm abrasive just because I don't know. I guess I've just sat in a chair where you have to be abrasive. You're
You
fighting
have
for
to have
everything.
that thick
Yeah,
skin,
yeah.
Greg. I mean, it's like I was married to a hedge fund manager for 14
Oh yeah,
years and watching
yeah.
him, his mental health and the way that he operated, it was just like I knew I had to be the wind beneath his wings during all of these times as his
Hmm.
wife and partner in life because it was like, wow, you're the fucking dragon slayer out there. And I get it. Like watching and then being responsible for other people's livelihood and health
Yeah.
and wealth, financial health and wealth. It's like that's a huge responsibility. And so you do have to develop some level of uh, what is it? The
Resistance or abrasion. You protect yourself by quickly
yeah,
being, it's the
just
fight or flight. It's the fight
yeah,
or flight nature. So you're not going to flight, so you fight, right? And
yeah,
and then but one thing I will say, and this is interesting maybe for people that don't understand the particular in life, if you're managing money, these are my words, you don't have to live by it, but I think your ex-husband, ex-partner would have shared the same thought. It's easiest to lose your own money, okay? Like, if you're going to lose money, it's easiest to lose your own money. It's second easiest to lose a bank's money because a bank is, this big institution and they can tuck away your losses in the corner.
right.
And it's absolutely brutal when you lose money for your clients. Even though you might have a benchmark, let's say for an equity manager, oh, my benchmark's the S&P 500. So if I lose less than the S&P 500, you're supposed to feel good about yourself. But how do you feel good about yourself when you say, hey, look, I only lost $10, whereas if you were in the S&P, 500, you would have lost $15, like, or multiply that by a couple of thousand times. You don't feel good about it.
Right.
So if you're a good risk manager and you have a soul, you're going to feel the pain of your client losses, because that's what they want you to feel, right? If you're Peter Schiff and you don't give a shit about your clients,
Yeah.
then you don't care about your clients' losses. Most good risk managers are not the Peter Schiffs of the world. And I think that built a war on your husband, certainly, and
Yeah.
then you bring that home. You try your hardest, but I'll tell you, when you're sitting on a crappy position, you can go to I have a little mosquito buzzing around. You can go to a movie with your wife, and you go through the whole movie, and then at the end of the movie, you realize you weren't even watching that movie.
Yeah.
All you were doing is thinking on a Saturday night
You're here.
about
Yeah.
this stupid position you have in your trading portfolio. You can't get out of it because you're the idiot that put yourself into it. And you turn around and say, I can't sell it to anybody. I was the only guy buying. And you're like, why was I so stupid? But you were so stupid. And then it impacts your life on weekends, and there's no downtime. And anyway, that's the way it was. And, your husband lived that life, and it's sorry that he brought that home. That being said, there's trade-offs. If you do well,
Yeah. When it's good, you're like, woohoo, I'm king of
yeah.
the world. But then when
Well,
you have those moments, it's just
so it's
like,
an adrenaline hit. It's like a junkie. You become a junkie. You
yeah.
are your adrenaline fix is like a shot of cocaine. Although I can't compare the two, but because I can't compare the two because I honestly have never done coke. But
Good. You're not
plenty
missing
of
a
people,
thing. You're not
plenty of
missing
people,
anything.
plenty of
Nothing.
people in my business have.
Yeah.
So that being said, it's a tough business, and so I appreciate your understanding. And I am trying to uh, not warn, but tell it like it is. And there's not that many people like perhaps your husband, but I know for sure in my own case that have lived the various cycles of the financial markets that I have.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a warrior's I called you a gladiator, I think, when we were on the happy hour, the toxic happy hour. I mean,
Did you?
you
Well,
really
thank
are.
you.
You are a gladiator, and I feel like, I'm kind of the butterfly wings, like, yay, let's celebrate and support the gladiators, because I'm not uniquely qualified or trained to go out there and really I'm like
Uh,
good at sprinkling the
you want
yumminess
to know
for
the greatest
everybody.
thing? Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
The best traders that I ever met were women.
Interesting.
Isn't that something?
Why do you think that is?
I think they're better suited to admit when they need to change their trade philosophy, whereas a
Mm,
stubborn man will try and put a stick in the ground and say, I'm going to show the world that I'm right, versus now again, and please, I don't want hate mail from feminists. So who do you think you are? Yeah, we're always supposed to be better than you guys are. Okay, that's good. Okay,
yeah,
I get it. But I'll
yeah.
just tell you that some of the most successful traders that I met were those who are able to change their position as the information changes.
Mhm.
And does that mean that they were women? Yes, some of them were, no question.
Yeah, that takes a lot of for any human, whatever your genitalia is, to admit like, "Oh, right, new information, shift gears." I remember I used to teach sailing, and I was a charter
Oh
boat
yeah.
captain, and, a lot of the captain, because I was, a captain too, the men would talk about how the women were better captains because
No way.
they finessed the boat a lot
Okay.
more, whereas a lot of the men were a little bit more kind of
How about
natural with
that?
how they would
Seaman?
move,
Yeah.
and the women would be a little bit more finessey, and so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I mean, I just think Bitcoin definitely brings out the humility in all of us, and it's like we can't fight it and go against it and try to, use our egos to go tell it what to do. It's going to do what it does, and we can either like
Oh yeah.
be along for the magic carpet ride and support it, or we're going to get our asses handed to us at some point. mentally and financially. So, sir, I want to circle back really quick.
Okay.
How many minutes do you have left? I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, I could do another half hour, but whatever you want, whatever
Okay.
suits your
Okay, cool. Well, here I want to go back to the 1-2 punch that you were talking about with your life. And the reason why is because I
mhm.
think there's a lot of people out there who hopefully will be listening to this, that if they need some support, this will give them a sense of not feeling alone,
Okay.
not feeling hopeless or powerless, and not feeling like that there's anything to be ashamed of or guilty
Yeah.
about because they don't have it together. So I went through something very similar as you. Like, it's weird where paths are like, um, and I had stuff going on with my family and the divorce and moving and all these crazy things. And so suicidal for sure.
Wow.
Um, and then it was all these 1-2 punches. And I think about like Rocky, right? And Apollo Creed. Like,
Mhm.
you think about like, woohoo, Rocky's a badass. But if he's knocked down and he's still on the ground and hasn't had time to get up to recover from the last punch, and Apollo's right over him just kicking his ass, like, hell yeah, he's going to get knocked out. And so depending on the the time between the knockdowns for us as humans and how many knockdowns there are and how big of a knocker downer there is, it every human has a breaking point, or I call it snap. I'm working on this book called Snap Goes the Mommy, and it's about the journey of being a badass, but then also being human and fragile and having that breaking point that we all have, no matter who you are. I don't
Yes.
care if you're a
Yeah.
billionaire or if you're an athlete or whatever. Like, every living organism that has been made in the world has a breaking point depending on the circumstances. And so for you, like that, the identity part that you were talking about, and
Mhm.
feeling like, oh my God, I used to, I was this powerful hedge fund guy, and now I'm like, what is going on? I mean, that's
Mhm.
the ego death is very, very painful. And if we haven't gone through it and understood that, like, this is part of transformation and going to the next level of our life, then it can feel really alone. It could feel very shameful. It could feel like, I want to leave the world.
Yes.
And so for you, like, uh, obviously your nervous system and your body system had to kind of get to a place of equilibrium so that you could start getting those cognitive stories and rewriting them. Because it's easy to sit and say, yeah, what's up, Greg? You've got you got the wife, you got the kids, you got the money, you got the business. What are you bitching about? Like, that's that's up here. If this system isn't settled the way that it needs to be, like in a harmonious homeostasis, all this doesn't matter. Just like you said, you're sitting at the movie theater and your mind is all the way over here. I mean, it matters so much that we take care of ourselves. And
Mhm.
I really want the community to understand, like, there's no shame in asking for help,
And
and
talking to people
totally.
so yeah, yeah, so that's what helps me is attract people. Sorry to interrupt, but
No, God.
one of the reasons I do chat about it is because I do believe that there's been some people I know for sure, by the way, that have reached out to me saying, can you help? And what did you do in this case? And then I've seen the improvement. And I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and I don't
Yeah.
want to be. But one of the biggest problems I had when I was talking to the quote unquote professionals is when the doctors say, "I know how you feel,"
Ugh.
and you realize, no, I'm afraid you don't. Okay, like
Yeah.
unless you've actually been there, you
Right.
don't know how I feel, and your attempt to console, which I'm not debating that, but it's different when you've talked to someone who's been there,
Yeah.
and that's what it comes down to, because you never know. I'll use the another Jeff Boothism. He says, in the case of, you never know which snowflake causes the avalanche, and he's generally talking about the collapse of the fiat system there.
Ugh.
The
Yeah.
same thing is, you never know which snowflake causes the avalanche when you're dealing with all these other
Yeah.
things that are happening in your life. And coming back to my own case, like, I certainly would have been able to deal with two of three of these things. I had done it for my
Right.
whole life, dealing with sort of multiple punches, but it's that feast need it. You get hit with another one, and so that pushes you over the edge. And all sometimes you need is some. Now, it's not simple to solve. This is not
Yeah.
something that, oh yeah, my mind just flipped the switch. Like, this is progressive degeneration, and
Yeah.
then you have to build it back up again. It doesn't happen with a flick of a switch. So, that's what you have to try and tell people,
Yeah.
Valerie. I think that, I wish I could help solve all this, but then I'm a math guy. As I've said, I'll go back to this. 25% by some measures, at least 25% of the population of the world will deal with a mental health challenge at some point in their
Yep.
lives. And the degree of which is also, subjective, not subjective, but is to the individual. But that being said, still 25%. And I bet you the number is actually higher.
Hmm.
But even 25%, 1 in 4, those are huge numbers of people. And then you get something like a pandemic, which has all sorts of uh, restrictions and lifestyle crimping. Just the phobias that develop around that are going to. I'm unfortunately, I think we will see some long-term impacts from some of the government programs that were instituted, to protect the society. There will be long-term implications of that. I don't want that to be the case, but it's just true. Like, what do I love in life? And I'm sure you feel the same way. I always feel great when I've gone out and, gone paddleboarding or skiing or worn my taken my shoes off and walking in grass,
Yeah,
or
totally.
going on the beach with no shoes or walking in water. One of the things I love to do as a Canadian, and people think I'm crazy, I love walking in snow
Yeah.
in bare feet, like just walking in bare feet in snow. And people are like, "What, are you out of your mind?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it's just a bit of." They call it grounding. You
Yep.
ground yourself. You ground yourself with nature. So yeah, I have this crazy thing where I'll walk in snow. Just, I find it soothing. I find that, and so I don't know. These are little tricks that they're not going to solve you. Okay, if you're in a difficult spot, I encourage people to go out and get help, which includes talking to friends, uh, reaching out. I wish I could say, talk to me. I'm not the expert, though. I'm trying to share my experience with this. I noticed in one of your conversations, you were very loving in that you said to somebody online, DM me. We could take this private. I want to help you. You're good people, right? You're a good person, and the world thanks people like you, and that's a giver. And so then I'll be very clear, though, that you can't save everybody, and
Mm.
sometimes the giver tries to give too much of themselves, and then all of a sudden they realize that they've dug their own hole, because all the energy that they should be using for themselves, they throw out there. And so sometimes, you can't save everybody. And I'm not saying you'd love to save everybody, but you can't, right? So you got to set boundaries for yourself, and then if you're subject to this,
Yeah.
which I am, because I mentioned my mom. So I'm self diagnosed as uh, I call it not manic, but it's a form of manic depression. Hypomanic, not hyper, but hypomanic is what I self diagnosed. But you got to be careful. So here's the crazy thing. This is crazy. Someone who's hypomanic cannot be 100% invested in Bitcoin, because the volatility of Bitcoin is just going to reflect in the volatility of your personality.
Yeah.
But that's scary. So you have to control your exposure to these types of things in life, including, as great as Bitcoin is, 100% exposure to Bitcoin. I would never be that person,
Hmm.
nor would I ever tell anybody they should be, particularly because some of these other impacts that people overlook, the pressure of 100% exposure. So, I've thrown a lot on the table.
Yeah.
I hope that it's been helpful for you and the listeners. I will thank you for being so helpful to the community. Your response to that, I believe it was a man. I think his name something Daddy.
Mhm.
Like it was just truly heartfelt, heartwarming, because that's the help that many times that's all it takes. Is just, hey, somebody cares, and thank you for helping me get through this day.
Yeah.
Somebody cares.
I think yeah, and thank you for that. And I feel like for all of us, we never know what one smile or opening the door or a
Hmm.
kind word, we don't know what that person might be going through.
Yeah,
And you never know if they were going to be jumping off a bridge in 10 minutes or something. And then you, because you smiled at them or, offered something like
yeah.
that could give them that renewed hope in themselves and humanity. And sometimes that's, I mean, hopefully that
And you never
goes.
know who it's impacting. So today I went out for lunch with a guy. He's in the Bitcoin community. His 85-year-old father committed suicide in November. Like, I mean, it's not young kids or old
Mm-mm.
people. It's everybody.
Everybody.
And this is something that the world needs more compassion.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. I don't like. Sometimes you'll see, like I blow up just like any regular human. Sometimes you just have to, though. That's your outlet yourself. If you internalize a lot of this stuff, then you're just gonna blow your own brains out.
Yeah.
But so coming back to it, and let's wrap it up, just because I don't think anyone wants to hear anything more from me. But yeah, an 85-year-old man. What a shame.
Yeah.
Still, he had 4 children. I
Ugh.
know he was 85, but there's still a better way to go than to go by. I know how he did it. I'll leave the details, but just by, it's just sad, right? And so everybody needs help. I think that a lot of the problems in society are caused by fiat money, and this is how I'll circle it all back.
Yeah.
If you're closest to the money printer, you are the ones that are going to benefit the most, and the people furthest away, the less privileged people, are the ones that are the most disadvantaged by fiat money printing.
Yeah.
Those are the people that get the most pressures in their lives, the ones that are probably most susceptible to giving up, to giving up hope. And I think Bitcoin solves a lot of things. And I'm not going to go as far as saying Bitcoin solves mental health, but what I will say is that it reduces some of the pressures and triggers in life that cause mental health issues.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the things I really recognize about being feeling safe financially gives you a sense of safety in your mental health. And Bitcoin to me offers that. And as somebody who's gone through a lot of this stuff, it's like, wow, I know that I when you are desperate financially, when you don't feel
Yes.
hopeful financially and you feel trapped, that impacts your mental health, that impacts how you think, and then that impacts how you behave, and then that obviously impacts your whole life. And so it
Mhm.
is foundational to have financial security in whatever way, and Bitcoin to me offers that for all of us as an opportunity, as a way in, right? And so that's why I'm so like, when I got it, when I got the tap and I understood, I was like, oh fuck, this is it. Like, I'm into the Bitcoin piece of music. Let's go spread the good stuff out here and help people, because I can go teach people to meditate all day long, but if they don't have food that's going to go in their belly or their kids' bellies, and they don't have a cushion to sit on and do their mantras through the speakers, it ain't going to do no good. They're still going to collapse, And so one of the things that I like to share with people, and I'm like, I don't care how much of a badass you are, and if you're Rocky or if you're whoever, the super gladiator guy, if you are, let's say, a brain surgeon, you could be the best brain surgeon in the universe. You should not practice brain surgery on yourself. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that goes true with some of our mental and spiritual health issues, because sometimes we just need a friend, or we need somebody who's been there a couple steps ahead of us, or even a professional to remind us, like, yeah, you're not alone. We got this. There's tools, there's things, we've got a big toolbox from Home Depot of all these great practical things, like putting your feet in the snow, like you said, different things that we can do
Yeah. Yeah.
to fortify ourselves so that we can go out there and be the gladiators. I call myself a love warrior and a love hacker. And it's like, I'm not going to be doing my business and job the right way if I'm home feeling like shit all the time. I'm like, I have to practice exquisite self-care
Okay.
first. Then I can be in service. And same with you. Like you said, you don't want to be this like people pleaser giver where then you have empty tanks and you're not able to
Right.
go do your thing. And so,
Right.
yeah. So I think we're on similar missions. And
Good. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in El Salvador. I hope
oh my God, that
that
is
would
so
be
cool.
yeah, that would be fun. I want to thank you again for having me, and I will say, look, please reach out. Oh, and we'll talk about Looking Glass Education.
Yeah.
That's an exciting part of my trying to give back to the community in terms of an education platform. We did this platform did donate uh, money to El Salvador to help
Me
progress.
Premier Bitcoin.
That's
Right?
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
got to interview, Seb and Dahlia. They were
Oh,
amazing. Did you
oh,
know that?
really?
So I'll
No.
send that interview. They were fabulous, and
Oh,
so we had
oh, that's
yeah,
okay. That's really great. That's
yeah.
really great.
You
Yeah,
have got like, you have really assembled a killer team of, like again, it's these, like, compassionate, caring
yeah.
people who give a shit, and we're givers, man.
Dahlia is off the charts,
Yeah,
just so incredible inside and outside. And yeah, you meet people like that, and it rejuvenates yourself, right? The people that you hang out with are a reflection of yourself. And I'm proud to call. Well, Seb and I ski together a lot in British Columbia,
nice.
and then Dahlia and I immediately, connected with a shared desire to make things better.
Yeah.
She is Central American or South American, I guess, but it's just really great to meet people like that. So yeah, thanks for having them on. And we don't need to talk about it, I guess, if they talked about it the whole time. But what we've done is
Yeah.
trying to help people understand some of the realities of the fiat system.
Yeah, and you guys are putting together such a great program. I really you guys who are listening and you can't see the screen, like, go to lookingglasseducation.com and go check everything out. Obviously, learning about Bitcoin is a long journey. You don't just, hi, I read a pamphlet. Now I get it. It takes time and it's got so many tentacles and layers. And so it's really important to do, put your proof of work in and learn,
Yes,
you
perfect.
know,
Yeah.
and be
Hmm.
patient with yourself. And there's like literally thousands of wonderful educators out there like Greg and Seb and
Yeah.
Dahlia and Daz and the folks over there who are kicking ass and helping everybody. So I'm just, I'm, you said you're, because I always hear people say like the sum of the five people you spend the most time with, and it's like if you keep spending time with these people, then you're it's like sports. You want to elevate your game to play at other people's level. So it's like
Uh-huh.
you do become a better version of yourself, through hanging around with all these cool people. So I just want to thank you, Greg, because you're
Yeah.
helping me want to become a better version of myself so that I can go out there,
Cool.
and I'm an old fart too. And
Well,
my
certainly not as old as me, but
I don't know,
well,
my glasses hide all my wrinkles real nice.
oh. Anyway, well, thanks for having me. Let's keep doing what we do, and
Yeah,
yeah, shout out to those guys. So particularly Seb and Dahlia, but Daz, I call him Daz Bea, but Daz B, but
that's me.
BEA. But it's good, solid Aussie who's giving time and his efforts to help to further the education process. So very proud to be a part of that. Very proud to be actually, asked to opine on stuff that gives my life purpose. So yeah, it's helped turn me around, and there you go. Let's hope that that this episode has helped at least a few people realize that you're only human.
Yeah,
Realize that you are born with a lot of these in your system, because the fight or flight instinct is what saved humans from the saber-toothed tiger.
right.
But that's that is in your genealogy, and anxiety is a survival mechanism. But if you have too much of it, then it can become like an overdose of any drug, life-saving drug. So in too much quantities, it can also detract a lot. So yeah, look, I look forward to working with you in the future to try and help make the world a better place.
Yeah, game on, my friend. Woohoo. Yay. Everybody, thank you so much. And Greg, I really admire you. And I thank you so much. I see you doing so much work out there and spending
I'm
so
one
much
of
time
many.
helping
I'm one of
people.
many.
You are,
There,
and it's
there's yeah,
awesome. There's so many
yeah.
people
No, it's
here. It's
crazy.
like
It's
I could
crazy.
literally interview people 5
Yeah,
times a day, 5 days a week, and I still
mhm,
wouldn't get to everybody who's a freaking badass out there. And
yeah.
but that's my goal.
All right. Well,
I want to share.
I'll shout out to my really good friend Lawrence Lepard as someone
Yeah.
who I've taken a lot of strength. He's given me a lot of strength, and sometimes I get strength from the kids. So one final story for you: I gave a
Sure.
presentation at a Toronto meetup this weekend, and there was about 150. I'm going to say 150-ish Torontonians there. Some people
Wow.
actually came from further than the Greater Toronto area, but the one that touched me the most was a young 14-year-old kid who was there with his dad. And it was
Whoa.
at a bar, so he had to bring his dad because he wouldn't have been able to get in by himself. But he was there to listen to me opine on Bitcoin. And I just looked and I said, wow, this is really crazy. It's so beautiful that I've achieved a level of notoriety. I don't want to brag about that, but the truth is, I guess if you say enough noisy things, people will listen to you. But I do believe this, and I do swear because I care. I didn't swear on your show today, so I'm proud of that.
It's
But
okay. I did.
I heard, yeah, yeah. But here's what I know: is this young man, 14 years old? He's going to help change the world. He will. He could be the next Jack Mallers. But
Yes.
the young kids that I'm meeting, I am so encouraged by them. So keep up the good fight, people. You have a friend in Canada. You have a friend in an old fat white guy like me. So thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, that sounds great, everybody. Peace, love, and aloha. And please go follow Greg at Foss, Greg Foss for Twitter, and then go to Looking Glass Education. And I'm DJ Valerie B. Love. This is a Bitcoin Peace and Music podcast. And again, thank you so much, Greg. You're the bomb diggity doodah.
Have
All
a
right.
great day.
Aloha,
Thank
everybody.
you.